Lesson 2D, we're going to learn how to find a line of best fit on your calculator and use that equation to make some predictions. So these are the steps, and these are in the notes. I am going to go through showing you how to do it on a Casio calculator because that's what most people have. If you have a TI, the steps are here that you can follow, and then if you have questions or issues, we can talk about it in class. So here's our data. We have the average gas prices from 1970 to 2015, and we are going to find an equation to model this data. So in your calculator, you're going to press menu, and we're going to go to stat minus number 2, and I'm going to enter the data. Now, when we enter the data, a lot of times with years, they'll tell you to enter it as years since whatever. So in this problem, it says years since 1970. So that means the year 1970, I'm not going to type in that number, I'm going to type in 0. 1975 is 5 years after 1970. 1980 is 10 years after 1970. All right, and the reason we do that is it makes the x values smaller, so it just makes it easier for us to look at that graph, and it doesn't change the data. So we're going to type in all of these numbers, all of the years in list 1, and the gas prices in list 2. Okay, so once I have all of my data entered, I'm going to choose Calc, so that's above F2, and then I want Regression, so that's F3. I'm doing a straight line regression, so I'm going to pick X. Okay, you might have an option also to pick AX plus B. That's the one that you're going to pick. All right, and then it gives us the equation for the line. The line is AX plus B. All right, so this value for A, that is my slope. This value for B, that is my y-intercept. And we're going to round things to the nearest hundredth, so the second decimal place. All right, so y equals 0.05x plus 0.34. That is my equation. Using the line of best fit, how much would we predict gas to cost in 2020? All right, so the year 2020, my years are x values, but I'm not going to plug in 2020 because we used years since 1970. All right, so 2020 is 50 years after 1970. So I'm going to plug in 50 for x in my equation. So y equals 0.05 times 50 plus 0.34. All right, so our best estimate for the cost of gas in 2020 is $2.84. All right, so now I want you guys to do this part using the line of best fit. How much should gas cost in 1987 and how much should gas cost in 1960? All right, see if you can find the correct x values to plug in and get your estimate for those two. All right, so for 1987, you should have plugged in 17 for x, and when you do that, we got an estimate of $1.19. All right. 1960 is 10 years before 1970, so I plugged in negative 10. But when I did that, I got y equals negative 0.16. All right, I don't think that gas stations in 1960 were charging negative 16 cents or paying you 16 cents for every gallon of gas you put in your car. So we have these questions here. What is wrong and why did this happen? Well, the data that we used to come up with this equation started in 1970, and it goes forward from there. So that means that it might be difficult, and in this case it is, or impossible, to use this equation that goes from 1970 forward to predict gas prices from before 1970. All right, so remember this equation is just an estimate based on the data we have, and you can't always use it to go outside of the range of data you have collected. All right, and that's it for our line of best fit.